I'm sure the majority of you live in Philadelphia. Whether or not you live in Philly, there is no doubt that the city is rich in history. However, when people think of Philadelphia, they think of buildings or food. A lesser-known aspect of the city that holds just as much historical importance is Philadelphia's wide variety of famous writers. Many writers from the past were from Philadelphia, and several writers today can still be found in the city of brotherly love. Everyone knows Benjamin Franklin, who spent the majority of his life in Philadelphia. He is well known for being one of the founding fathers of our country, but he was also an excellent writer. As a young boy, Franklin would write articles for his brother's newspaper. In order to conceal his identity from his brother, he submitted the articles pretending to be a widow named Silence Dogood. In 1733, his work Poor Richard's Almanac was published. He wrote it under the name Richard Saunders, who was said to be a poor man in need of money to care for his wife. It contained many famous quotes and sayings that are common today, such as, "A penny saved is a penny earned." Franklin also created the first political cartoon, which was in the Pennsylvania Gazette in 1754. The cartoon consisted of an image of a snake broken into pieces, with the words "Join or Die." He created the cartoon to look like this because of a myth during his time that a severed snake would revive if it was put back together before sunset. Each part of the snake represented a colony, and the cartoon sent to the public a message that the colonies needed to unite. An author I'm sure you all know is Edgar Allan Poe. This famous writer is known for his tension-filled, frightening works. Although not born in Philadelphia, he lived here for 6 years. Some of his most successful works were written during this time, including The Telltale Heart, The Mask of the Red Death, The Black Cat, and several other tales. The Telltale Heart tells the story from the perspective of a madman as he attempts to justify his actions. He narrates the story of how he murdered an old man because of his eye, but still heard the man's heart beating after he killed him. In The Mask of the Red Death, readers get to witness a party held by a prince and the deaths of all the participants at the hands of a deadly disease. The Black Cat is also told from the perspective of a man who has committed murder, but this man had killed a cat and later his wife. Another cat, one that looked identical to the one he had recently killed, had been staying with the couple, but went missing after he killed his wife. The police found it alive with her hidden body. I have read these 3 chilling stories, and I think they serve as great examples of Poe's writing. Elizabeth Chandler was born in 1807. Her parents died while she was very young, so she was raised in Philadelphia by her Quaker relatives. Quakers were against slavery at the time, and at age 18, Chandler wrote an anti-slavery poem called The Slave Ship. She inspired many young women to fight for equal rights and helped create Michigan's first anti-slavery association. Almost all of her writings were published anonymously while she was alive, so she wasn't well known until after her death, when 2 collections of her works were published. The collections consisted of essays, philanthropic and moral, and poetical works by Elizabeth Margaret Chandler with a memoir of her life and character. Both collections were published in 1836, 2 years after she died. Louisa May Alcott was born in Germantown in 1832. Her family went through a lot of economic distress, so she worked as many jobs as possible. Even with all the extra work she was doing, she made little money. Her poem Sunlight was published in Peterson's magazine in 1852 under the name Flora Fairfield. 3 years later, her first book, Flower Fables, was published. In 1862, Alcott traveled to Washington, D.C. and served as a Civil War nurse. She soon contracted typhoid fever, like many nurses at the time. She was cured but suffered the effects of the mercury in the drug that helped her recover for the rest of her life. A year into her service as a Civil War nurse, she was inspired to write hospital sketches, and she also wrote Moods a year later. The story that caused her fame was Little Women, which she based on her own life. The book was published in 1868, and over 2,000 copies sold right away. A year later, a second volume was published, and over 13,000 copies sold quickly. The immediate success helped her family earn more money. I'm sure you can guess where Lloyd Alexander was born. That's right, he was born here in Philadelphia. He had 2 successful parents, but at age 6, his father went bankrupt due to the stock market crash of 1929. At age 15, Lloyd knew he wanted to be an author, but his parents didn't approve due to their financial insecurity. He enlisted in the army in 1943, hoping the excitement would provide inspiration for his writings. His time in the army took him to France, where he met his wife. They stayed there for a while, but Alexander felt he would be more inspired to write if he was closer to his hometown. After many failed attempts at publishing different novels he worked on, he eventually published his first book and let the credit go. The story was about a young author trying to get his books published. Although the protagonist was similar to himself, the story was not a memoir but an adult fiction novel. He spent 10 years writing adult fiction before he realized in 1963 that he preferred writing fantasy novels. He later wrote The Marvelous Misadventures of Sebastian and Westmark, which both won the National Book Award. Alexander died from cancer in 2007. Although not well known while he was alive, David Goodis was an author from Philadelphia who wrote several amazing noir novels, and many people today enjoy his works. He started writing in the late 1930s under several different names for various magazines. He would write 3,000 to 5,000 words of sports, horror, and other genres daily, earning 1 cent per word. Goodis worked in Hollywood from 1942 until 1950. Although many ideas he had during this time weren't successful, his novel Dark Passage was made into a popular film in 1947. This gave him a brief time of fame until he returned to his hometown Philadelphia in 1950. His motives for giving up his fame to be a pulp writer in Philadelphia aren't completely known, but the pieces he wrote at this time in his life were very popular in France. Several French movies were based on his works, one of the most well-known being the 1960 film Shoot the Piano Player, which was based on his story from 1946, Down There. Goodis died in 1967. Quiara Alegria Hudes is another amazing author who was born here in Philadelphia. She has written several popular books and plays. Her play Water by the Spoonful received the Pulitzer Prize for Drama in 2012. The play is about a group of recovering addicts growing closer and forming strong bonds in an online chat room. Chiara also wrote the book to the musical In the Heights, which is about a community in New York's Washington Heights neighborhood. The play earned a Tony nomination for Best Book of a Musical. Chiara currently serves as a board member of Philadelphia Young Playwrights, which is the association that produced her first play when she was in high school. In 1956, Lisa Scottoline was born in Philadelphia. She earned a Bachelor of Arts degree at the University of Pennsylvania. She graduated from Penn's Law School in 1981, then became a clerk in the Pennsylvania Superior Court. She left that job in 1986 to take care of her daughter and began writing legal fiction. She became a clerk to a judge in the United States Court of Appeals in 1994, but continued writing. Her first novel, Everywhere That Mary Went, was completed that year. The story is about a woman named Mary D'Annunzio, who learns that someone is trying to find a way to kill her, but doesn't know who she can trust in her Philadelphia law firm. Her book, Look Again, which was published in 2009, was named a Best Book of the Year by the Washington Post. The story is about a woman who finds a picture of her adopted son on a missing child poster. Scottoline has written over 20 best-selling mystery novels and is the president of Mystery Writers of America. Some of Lisa Scottoline's books include Legal Tender, Rough Justice, Mistaken Identity, and Moment of Truth. All published in the late 1990s, these were the first few books in the Rosato and Associates series. The 11-book series revolves around Mary D'Annunzio and other characters, and they all take place in Philadelphia. Scottoline has also written several works of fiction that aren't in the series, such as Devil's Corner and Save Me. There are a few non-fiction pieces she has written too, including My Nest Isn't Empty, It Just Has More Closet Space, and Meet Me at Emotional Baggage Claim. She's even written a few collaborative novels with other authors. Some of these are Naked Came the Phoenix, The Copper Bracelet, and No Rest for the Dead. Elise Juska is the author of The Hazards of Sleeping Alone and One for Sorrow, Two for Joy. The latter is her most recent work and was partially inspired by Elise's time in Ireland in college, especially when she observed how the style of storytelling differed in Ireland. The title of her story is a line from an Irish nursery rhyme. Her friends in Ireland took said nursery rhyme very seriously, which inspired her to name the story after it, since her main character faces a lot of struggles related to her beliefs. Elise is currently an assistant professor at the University of the Arts, which is in, you guessed it, Philadelphia. Michael Aronovitz was born in September of 1961. He has written several pieces of horror. His first work was a story called The Clever Mask, published in 1993. He has written a total of 20 short stories since then, including Passive Passenger, Quest for Sadness, and How Bria Died. In 2013, his first novel, Alice Walks, came out as a hardcover book. The paperback version came out a year later. A few other novels written by Aronowitz were The Witch of the Wood and Phantom Effect. The former was published in 2014, while the latter was published in 2016, making it his most recent piece. There are also 3 collections written by Aronowitz, which are Twisted Campfire Tales, 7 Deadly Pleasures, and The Voices in Our Heads. Aronowitz currently works as a college professor in Philadelphia. As you can clearly see, Philadelphia is home to a multitude of literary masters. Our city is known as the Cradle of Liberty, and it is the birthplace of our nation. People come from all over the world to see the important historical sites found in this city. I think tourists should also take the time to acknowledge the arts, which are also abundant here. Next time you think of Philadelphia, remember the great number of amazing stories written here.